Coming up to this episode, European Parliament's pathways to integrate refugees in our societies. Stay tuned to find out more. This is Chara Gkioka. Welcome to ActuaTV. Welcome to your Europe. The huge refugee flows in the European Union caused a series of different reactions on behalf of different member states. On the one hand, we saw many European countries to close their borders and shut their doors to refugees, such was the case of Hungary and Austria. On the other, we saw Greece to turn into a giant refugee camp, since after the closure of the borders and the Idomeni corridor, which was the only path to the rest of Europe, refugees got trapped in the country. What concerns Europe to this point, and in particular the European Parliament, is to incorporate at least the refugees that have already crossed European territory and applied for asylum. But how possible is to integrate refugees in European societies, and how possible is to make them productive for our economies when the unemployment rate in the EU of 28 by the last trimester hit up to 10.2%? Joining me to this episode, Mr. Brando Benifei, a member of the European Parliament from Italy, registered with a group of the Progressive Alliance of Socialists and Democrats. Mr. Benifei, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, to begin with, first stage for refugees that are already in European territory is to provide them food and shelter. Which is the next goal?
Food and shelter is not sufficient because we need to tackle this really big crisis that we have, this humanitarian crisis, which is also a policy crisis, a lack of policy from the European side with policies that can integrate these people in the labour market. This is a challenge, but also it's an opportunity. We must make this situation sustainable. So my main point, also in the report I've written for the European Parliament, which will go to plenary for final vote in July, the main point is that we cannot integrate refugees if we do that at the detriment against the needs and the wills of the local people. We must be able to have enough resources. So we propose to enlarge the scope and the amount of money in the European Social Fund inside the cohesion policies of the multi-annual financial framework. We will deal with this because there will be a revision of this multi-annual budget of the European Union that will start in the end of 2016. We need more resources because we cannot choose between vulnerable groups. We need to integrate refugees in the labour market, but to do that, we also need to continue our effort to reduce unemployment, to support disabled people, to support families among the local population of the recipient states. Otherwise, we cannot integrate. It will be a social unrest. It will be just an increase of social discohesion. So we need new resources, and we need to use the ones that we have better.
In particular, how can we integrate refugees in our societies?
Early intervention is crucial. We need to understand immediately those who have more opportunities and more possibilities to integrate because they already have competences, and on them work immediately. And for those who don't have competences, who have very big problems for the language, for example, we must provide language courses, we must provide fast-track skills training. To do this, we need stronger public and private training facilities. We need investment of resources. I insist, we cannot consider this something that can be done with no extra expense. That's why we need to be creative. We will need to find new sources of income, and we need to be efficient and to put in this plan, in these actions for integration of refugees, enough money so that the member states can be ready to do it. Also with the help of the local authorities and the NGOs that on the ground are usually the actors that are most able to do the things most effectively, that have the best projects.
Mr. Benifei, how easy is to achieve all this? How willing are member states to agree in that proposal? I mean, How realistic is this plan, having in mind that we have high unemployment rates within the European Union? And I have to state here, only by last April, the unemployment in the EU of 28 hit up a percentage of 10.2. And especially countries that have the biggest refugee flows, such as Italy, such as Greece, have the highest unemployment.
Yeah, but it's totally true. In fact, we have a situation that must be made sustainable. So everything we are talking about has a precondition, and that is that the European Union builds a real solid network between the member states in support of the refugees inflow, because we have a humanitarian duty. We have people who are escaping bombs, who are escaping wars, and we must also be careful that we are really giving priority to those who are really escaping the risk of life. Other people probably don't have that same urgency. We have to be also very rigorous on this. But also, we must make this sustainable. We must understand that these people, if integrated, can contribute to the local economy, can pay taxes, can create jobs themselves for the local people. But to do this, we need to invest resources that are not to be subtracted from the resources given to the disabled people, to the vulnerable groups, to the young people, to the young unemployed. I deal a lot with the Youth Guarantee, for example, a big European plan for the youth, and we cannot have money subtracted for programs against youth unemployment to be given to the refugees. We need new programs, we need new money, and this cannot be escaped. The member states must understand that we need a higher amount of money in the European Social Fund. We must go back of before 2014. On 2014, the multi-annual financial framework until 2020, which has been decided, has reduced the ceiling of the European Social Fund in the cohesion policy. Our proposal in the report is to bring it at least back to 25% of the cohesion policy, so that the local authorities, the NGOs, the businesses, the local communities can have more resources for projects of integration that can develop economy locally, that can create new jobs.
Mr. Benifei, I have to sincerely thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all of you. See you next week.
Actua-TV. Het hele verhaal.